Shalom Israel, Shalom. Brother Ezekiel out of WFI Detroit camp, coming to you with another video. Before I start this video, I want to give all honor and glorification to the Most High God, Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai. Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, who the world calls God. Yahushai being the name of His only begotten Son, who the name ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, who is the King and Savior of the nation of Israel. And Shalom to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, right? This video is going to be entitled, I believe I'm going to call it, this is obviously in transit after camp, it's a few meditations just pondering in my mind concerning, Passover being about a week and a half away right now, right? And I believe I'm going to probably title this for the most part, watch your environment. Watch who's around you, watch your spirit, watch everything, Now, of course, somebody may say, well, I'm watching already. I'm already paying attention. I'm being diligent. I'm actually doing my due diligence each and every day. But don't underestimate these spirits. Don't underestimate the demons that are going to try to, come unto you, right? Whether through, your job, through people at work, right? Through your comings and goings, when you're out and about, right? Through your wife, through your husband, or God forbid your children, right? We got to be cognizant and aware of these things, right? Because Satan is running rampant this season in regards to Passover. And the demons are only going to amplify as we get closer and closer, right? It never stops. But obviously Passover, it just brings a heavier spirit. So let me get this precept. Psalms, Proverbs chapter 27 and start at verse 12. It says what? It says, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, right? It tell you that a prudent man foreseeth the evil. So to watch your surroundings, to watch what's going on, to protect your spirit, you got to know and understand what's going on around you, right? And you got to see what's evil and give not your soul unto it. Like I tell you in Sirach, the 37th chapter, right? Maybe certain friends, maybe certain family, right? That's trying to come around, that's trying to invite you, that's trying to beguile you, or entice you to do things, especially in this Passover season, that are going to be, to your detriment, essentially, because it won't be for your benefit, right? And hide himself, meaning you're not going to deal with it, you're not going to entertain it, you're not going to involve yourselves in that type of behavior. But it says what? But the simple are passed on and are punished. So it's simple, they're just going to give into it. It's not really going to be a huge deal, a big thing. It really won't even matter at the end of the day, right? That's why they just pass on. They just keep it moving because they don't have the discernment. They don't have the discretion. They're not really aware of what's going on. They're not paying attention to spirits, and if they are, they're going to kind of brush them off, downplay them, or procrastinate on, what it may be, what it is. It's not that deep, or, I got a handle on this, right? Probably even moving in the spirit of pride, God forbid, but it happens, right? We got to understand that, guess what? That the prudent man are going to receive the evil. So you got to perceive what's going on around you, right? Perceive what's going on around you, no matter what it may be, and don't entertain it. Don't give yourself to something and try to underestimate it at the end of the day. Once again, whether it be family, friends, certain spirits, maybe old exes trying to come to you, whether it be a man, whether for you sisters, or whether it be a woman, for you brothers, right? It always comes around these Passover season. Will you be out and about, oh, you look cute, right? Oh, you're looking pretty handsome. You pretty, or you fine. The lingo of the world, essentially. Right? You can't let these things have a hold on you, essentially. Because, once again, it goes back to watching yourself and your surroundings. You got to be as spiritual as possible. And if you're not moving as spiritual as spiritually as you possibly can, what spirit are you essentially moving in? Right? So it's the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 14. But it says, the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him. Neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. So you don't have the discernment to know what's going on around you, what spirit certain individuals are moving in concerning you. If you're in their environment, area, etc., then you're compromised, and you might want to put in a fast. You might want to smite your chest and throw up a prayer and humble yourself before the Most High, right? Or you might want to seek counsel and help, right, from like-minded, stronger men, right, that's moving in the spirit. Because if you don't understand what's going on around you, you're going to be compromised, and God forbid you're going to get caught out there in worst case scenario destroyed, or whether out the truth back into the world, or God forbid dead. And that goes for any of us, including myself. That's why as the times get closer to the end, we got to really look ourselves in the mirror and examine: do we really believe? Do we really have faith? Because even Yahushua said, what shall he find faith on the earth? Concerning Luke the 18th chapter, verses 7 and verse 8 on down. So, these are the things we got to constantly be aware of. Constantly watching, constantly, not putting off from day to day. Like I tell you in Sirach chapter 5 and verse 7, kind of just brushing it to the side. Everything is spiritual at the end of the day. And we can't really ignore it, because what did Paul tell us? Ephesians chapter 6, and we're going to start at verse 12, the classic. It says, for we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but principalities. But against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So spirits are running rampant at the end of the day in these last days. But how much more this Passover season, right? It's only about a week and a half away. When you look at the calendar, I believe today is the 20th, right? So it's only so much time you have to prepare and also remove the leaven, right? Physically as well as spiritually, most importantly. If you're a brother that's, unsure of yourself, if you're, waiting to the last minute, or, I think I'm good, and hey, you might want to check yourself even more, right? So put in another fast if you have to. Fast 2 times a week. If you need be an emergency, 3 times, right? Don't neglect the spirit at the end of the day. If you're dealing with something, or that it's kind of hard, with maybe some of the vices that you've fallen to, no matter what they may be, but yet you're not implementing certain changes or certain things to remove whatever ailments that may be preventing you from serving the Most High God. Hey, God forbid you're going to be given over to that device, or whatever spirit that may be, right? You don't want to be caught up out there. This is not the time to faint. This is not the time to be weary. This is not the time to give up, right? You got to understand that the fight that we deal with, is we got to subject ourselves essentially to Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Let me grab this last precept of Salaki. Salaki is where I'm driving. So it's about 2 Corinthians chapter 10, and I'm going to start at verse 4, or Salaki, verse 3, right? Let's close the precept. It says, for though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. Yeah, you get fired from your job. It's a spirit that, hopped on whatever your manager, your supervisor, whoever's in charge. And at the end of the day, now, whatever the reason may be, it may have not been sufficient enough, right? It may be something completely stupid, idiotic, etc., right? And you're not warned after them, because they don't know what's going on. These are just vessels, especially concerning the heathen, fit for destruction. But what spirit hopped on them this Passover season to fire you from your job, to put more fetters upon you at work, that you're not giving more time to the Lord, that you're not purging, certain spirits out of your vessel, right? We're not physically fighting this flesh. Everything is spiritual, right? And you gotta foresee the evil and prepare yourself. It says, for our weapons are our warfare. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High, to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of the Most High, and bringing it into captivity and every thought into the obedience of Mashiach Yahushua. So that's what we have to do, right? You may have to, like brothers always bring out, you may have to, refrain from whatever hobbies you may have. Is it necessarily a sin? Probably not. I mean, of course not, God forbid. But you have to give more time to the Lord, essentially. You have to prepare yourself spiritually for one of the highest holy days next to Day of Atonement, right? And be aware of what's going on. And, I mean, you got to think. Now it's not the time to just not be aware at all. But not just that, most importantly, you don't want to just be lost. And what I mean by that is this. You want to go all the way to, I think today is March the 20th. And then it's like, well, have I really purged everything? I think I do. You're unsure, right? You're not really confident. You're not really sure. You can't really look in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm ready to eat of this Passover, right? Because when you eat of that Passover unworthily, like he tell you in 1 Corinthians, the 11th chapter, you're just eating damnation to yourself, greatly paraphrasing, right? Because essentially you did not examine, right? You didn't look, you weren't real with yourself. You didn't really prove your soul and give not that which is evil unto it, right? You didn't really, of course, not just that, you didn't really make the preparations, the proper preparations to regulate, those spirits or those demons that you're battling with, or at least reach out, right? Because a lot of brothers are giving that in the last days. If you going through something, reach out, right? Don't go through it alone, because essentially you're gonna be sensual, not having the spirit, and God forbid you're gonna just drown and wallow in those sins. Like I tell you in the book of Jude, chapter 1 and verse 19. Don't be that individual. Now is not the time. Don't be too proud to reach out, right? And no matter what you're dealing with, because all of us are dealing with something, as we know at the end of the day. But with that, Israel, I want to bid a mighty shalom. That's it for this video in regards to doing what? Watch what's going on around you and protect yourself, right? Be prudent, right? Passover is about a week and a half away, and there's still a lot of work that we can put in and do, right, before we, before we actually indulge ourselves in that meal, right? Whether carnally, spiritually, there's a lot of leaven that we can still remove and purge and strengthen ourselves in, right, before that great day, before the convocation. But with that, I want to bid of Israel mighty shalom. Most high will you've been edified. Kwam Yasha. Shalom.